Assalamu alaikum, dear audience. This is Sanobar Sultan, and here you are watching another video on Sanobar's World. So, today the topic of discussion is Iqbal, individual as eagle, state as spiritual democracy. So, to begin with, let's start with who was Iqbal. Iqbal is one of the greatest Muslim philosopher, poet, and political theorist of the early 20th century from the subcontinent. His main medium of communication was poetry. He had traveled extensively through Europe and examined the lack of religion in the Western model of politics, which he claimed would be the ultimate reason of demise of the society. Iqbal's writing and philosophy is deeply rooted in his Islamic faith, and this use of the medium of poetry is so as to attract the attention of all age brackets. He has written poetry for children, which to this day is read in schools across the subcontinent. And then the same Iqbal who addresses the child then addresses the adult to reawaken from the slumber of ignorance. Among his famous works, a lot of the work stands out, but one of the most intriguing one, which drew a lot of controversy at the time when he had written it, is a conversation where Iqbal, on the behalf of Muslims, is protesting or complaining to God about the downfall of Muslims, about the and its fall from grace. This unique expression of poetry is then taken a step further when Iqbal counters this complaint by giving a rebuttal from God, written by Iqbal, of course, as an answer for that complaint from the Muslim about why the Muslim downfall has occurred. So it's very, if you read it, the translations are available in multiple languages. So it is readily available. You all can read it yourself. So whatever the medium of expression is of Iqbal, be it poetry, books, letters, or speeches, the commonality is to reawaken the lost Muslims from mental slavery by going back to the very reason to its original rise of the Muslim empire, which was religion itself and its values. So Iqbal's philosophy, according to my understanding of reading, can be bifurcated into two levels. One is the individual level and the other is the state level. So the first, we will discuss Iqbal's idea of a Muslim individual. Again, this idea of a Muslim individual is propagated throughout his poetry. So for Iqbal, the Muslim individual is to be idolized as the bird eagle. So that is why the title of the discussion is Individual as Eagle. So for Iqbal, that eagle is a representation of the characteristics that he hopes that Muslim individuals would espouse for. So that's right. For Iqbal, the characteristics of the eagle are what the youth needs to aspire to. Now, what are the characteristics of an eagle? Let's see. Eagle is a bird which is not like a vulture. It hunts its prey. It is solitary. It soars very high in the air. It mates for life. Its vision is precise, and it has no other natural predator. So these are the characteristics which are used as symbolism to ignite the youth to aim high, and even the level to which he sees high is there's this famous verse of Iqbal where he says, you know, the world that you see, he refers to the cosmology, that in fact there is in even more planets, the planets that you are aware of. You know, why don't you go and discover more planets? Why don't you go and discover galaxies? That the ultimate aim of the level to which a human individual can reach is limitless, of course bestowed by God, but do not be do not be pigeonholed into the idea of looking down. Rather be the eagle and look up and forward and soar high. So he uses that symbolism of eagle a lot in his poetry for the individual. Now, that was, of course, a very succinct description of his individual level of analysis that he proposes. Now we will discuss that when it comes to the state level. Iqbal proposes what is known as spiritual democracy. Now, Iqbal sees the secularization of state as almost laying the basis of atheism of state, which is devoid of any humanity or religion or religious individual values which differentiate what is good about being human as compared to materialism. Because what it leads to, the Western model, according to Iqbal, is the worship of power to sustain power rather than to worship God. So bringing morality and ethics in democracy is the way forward, and for society to be binded not by the concept of nationalism, but by the values of humanity, which he says are rightly propagated in religion. Because the basis of religion is humanity, according to Iqbal. So that was a very small description of one of the greatest, like I mentioned, philosophers and poets of the early 20th century from the Muslim world. He had an extensive, keen eye on the political uprisings across during his time, which was anti-colonialism, and during the era of decolonization and everything that was happening in Europe, and the empires were, how it was working at that time. And so his poetry is as relevant today as it was in the early 20th century. So that was my little input to ignite your interest into reading Iqbal. His poetry is mostly in Urdu and Persian, but it is translated in multiple languages, so you all can read its translation. So thank you very much to your audience. I shall see you all very soon. And if you like my videos, do subscribe to my channel and watch other videos on Sanoba's World. Bye bye.